Fred Katz of The Athletic is reporting that the New York Knicks are fielding trade offers for Quentin Grimes. We're going to break that down on today's show. And also, Katz, he came up with 9 players that the New York Knicks could look to target in a trade for Quentin Grimes. We're going to dive into that in a second. But first, I got to make sure everybody watching today's video is not just subscribed to Knicks Now by Chat Sports, but you have your notifications turned on. Over the last 28 days, this channel has grown like crazy. We've picked up 3,000 subscribers in that time period, and now is the time to turn on your notifications. The trade deadline is 3 weeks away, and you don't want to be out of the loop if Leon Rose makes a trade. So subscribe and turn your notifications on for free Knicks content every day. You're watching Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. Let's get into it. The New York Knicks are fielding offers on Quentin Grimes, and they may look to add a ball handler in return. This is what Fred Katz had to say, one of the best New York Knicks insiders and beat reporters. I'll put the link to this article in the description of today's video so you can go read it in length. He said the Knicks are targeting an extra ball handler, someone who can help hold up the offense when Brunson is on the bench or even play alongside of him. What do you know? We've been saying that is what the New York Knicks need ever since they shipped out Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett to Toronto. But the question has always been, but Marsh, who could they get? Well, these are 9 players that Fred Katz thinks the Knicks could look to target. Malcolm Brogdon, he is at the top of my list when it comes to potential trade targets for the orange and blue. Jordan Clarkson, I think he's a solid player, but he's an inefficient jacker that doesn't play defense. Not my cup of tea. I like the swag and the dog and intensity and fearlessness that Collin Sexton plays with, but can you really ever deploy a lineup with Sexton and Brunson late in games and actually defend at a high level? I'm not so sure. I'm a huge fan of Terry Rozier. Having his best year in the NBA, absolutely dominating in Charlotte. Question is, though, are those just bloated stats and losses? Is he a good stats, bad team guy? I don't know. Bruce Brown doesn't make all that much sense to me. Indiana just gave him a bag. They are just like the Knicks, trying to get better and make a playoff push. And also, you've already got Josh Hart. You've already got OG Anunoby. How many more limited offensive bag players that are workers do the Knicks need? Not all that interested in Bruce Brown. TJ McConnell, I like him, but same thing I said about Bruce Brown. I don't think the Pacers are willing to trade one of the best backup point guards in the NBA. What about Bojan Bogdanovic of the Detroit Pistons? We call him a professional scorer on this channel. The guy can put the ball in the bucket with the best of them. I think the Knicks could use a wing like that, and I think that makes some sense considering where the Detroit Pistons are at right now in the rebuilding and retooling of that franchise. I was a huge proponent of the Knicks going out and signing a guy like Caris LeVert last offseason. I like the size, I like the length, and I like his ability to put the ball in the basket, but is Cleveland going to trade him? This name was interesting, though. Not for the first time, not for the second time, but what about bringing back Tim Hardaway Jr. for his 3rd stint with the New York Knicks? I went to the Dallas Mavericks versus Knicks game in Dallas a couple of days ago, and the guy can still light it up. But as we know, he is one of the more streaky scorers in the NBA. The most, I would say, glaring thing about this list that Katz came out with was that it did not feature DeJounte Murray, which tells me maybe the Knicks aren't all in on trading for Murray. Who knows? But I'll ask you this question. If you had to pick one of these 9 players to trade for, don't include DeJounte Murray, because he was not a name that Katz mentioned. Pick a player to trade for. Is it Brogdon, Clarkson, Sexton, Rozier, Brown, McConnell, Bogdanovic, LeVert, or Hardaway Jr.? Give me a name of the player you want to see the Knicks trade Quentin Grimes for down in the comments right now. For me, I am not trading Quentin Grimes for any of the players mentioned on that list, outside of DeJounte Murray, who was not on that list, but I threw him on there to make the graphic work. Look, I'm not trading Quentin Grimes for any of those players. I'll tell you who I would trade Grimes for and the type of player I would like to get back for Grimes in a second. But I also want to talk about why you should not trade Quentin Grimes and why Quentin Grimes should be playing over Josh Hart right now. I'm a huge fan of Josh Hart. I've got his jersey. I love the energy and the effort that he plays with. But right now, when he is on the court alongside Julius Randle, the offense is crippled. He is shooting awful from 3 this season, and then specifically since the OG Anunoby trade. We'll break that down. But first, I got to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Factor. When you go to factormeals.com/NicksChat50 and you use the promo code NicksChat50, Factor is going to hook you up with 50% off. Look, if you've tried the whole meal prepping thing, you don't like going to the grocery store, or you don't have time to go to the grocery store, you're actually not that good of a cook, and you're tired of buying groceries, cooking, cleaning them up, and you're still ordering takeout and spending too much money, give Factor a try. Fresh, never frozen, chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that you can get for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that will keep you on track with your healthy lifestyle goals. If you're looking for low-carb, keto meals, they have that. If you're looking for vegan or veggie meals, they have that as well. Factor is my go-to spot for ready-to-eat meals in 2024, and you should do the same. Do it by going to factormeals.com/NicksChat50 and use that promo code NicksChat50 to save 50% off. All of that information, I'll put it down in the comments and description. That way you can go and get hooked up with Factor. Support the show, support the sponsor, be a real one. Factormeals.com/NicksChat50. My take on trading Grimes for one of those 9 players is this. I'm only trading Quentin for a star. The Knicks have multiple. They have first-round picks galore to move for lower-level players. You didn't include any first-round picks in the swap for OG Anunoby that included RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley. That means you've got extra first-round picks sitting in your pocket. There's no reason to trade a player that you, Leon Rose, deemed untouchable in Quentin Grimes in a Donovan Mitchell trade. You can't do this. You can't say Quentin Grimes is untouchable in a deal for Donovan Mitchell, but you're ready to move him for TJ McConnell. How on earth does that make sense? That is the definition of asset mismanagement. That is a joke. And Quentin Grimes is a winning player. You can win ball games with this team with Grimes in the rotation. And I would actually make the case that Grimes should be even more in this rotation than Josh Hart. We'll talk about Josh Hart and Quentin Grimes, and we will compare their stats in the OG Anunoby era. But another reason I'm not trading Grimes for a lower-level bench player is this, because listen to what Fred Katz said. The long-term plan for the New York Knicks remains to add a star to the core that's already present, but the organization still does not expect that star, whoever he may be, to become available until the summer at the earliest. So if you don't think the trade for a star is on the table right now, why are you sending your best young asset for a player like Terry Rozier? What kind of shit that makes no sense. That is a joke. If you trade Grimes for bench help, what player are you including in the trade for a star that you just said you want them to trade for? That makes absolutely no sense to me. Someone help me out in the comment section and try to understand this. Done with the trade talk for now. Grimes should be playing over Hart. Let's talk about the actual basketball team and what's happening on the hardwood. Ever since the New York Knicks traded for OG Anunoby, the need for Josh Hart has kind of diminished. And to be nice to Josh, who I'm a fan of, he has been terrible since the trade has happened. There has been 8 games since it went down. The Knicks are 6-2. And look at the stats on screen and tell me which guy should be playing major minutes. One guy in 17.5 minutes per game is averaging 10 points per game on 45+% from the field and 45+% from 3. The other guy is playing 27.2 minutes per game. He's giving you 6 points per game. What about those 7.4 rebounds? And he is shooting an ice-cold 36.7% from the field, and he's shooting threes with his eyes closed, knocking them down at just a 27% clip. When Josh Hart is on the floor next to Julius Randle and a big man, whether that is Isaiah Hartenstein or whether that is Precious Achiuwa as of late, the New York Knicks cannot score. It is hard to score in the NBA when you have 3 guys that can't stretch the floor, when you have 3 guys on the floor that don't shoot the 3 ball better than a 30% clip. That is impossible to operate with a high efficiency, and you're making life damn near impossible for a guy like Jalen Brunson. You're saying, Brunson, I know you're great and I know you're undersized, but we're going to pack the paint with Julius Randle, Isaiah Hartenstein, Precious Achiuwa, and Josh Hart. There have been way too many 3 to 5 minute stretches since they traded for OG Anunoby, which we knew would happen with the lack of scoring, or with the scoring that went out, almost 40 points per game between R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley. But way too many stretches where you look up and MSG shows the graphic, the Knicks haven't made a field goal in 4 minutes and 35 seconds. The Knicks haven't made a field goal in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Way too consistently is that happening. I love Josh Hart. I love the effort. I appreciate what he's done for this team. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say this, and I am almost guaranteeing this will happen if the New York Knicks trade Quentin Grimes at the trade deadline. Josh Hart will not be a Knick this time next year. OG Anunoby makes Hart expendable. Tom Thibodeau already got his luau ding. He played him 44 minutes last night against the Orlando Magic. How many minutes do you think he's playing in the playoffs? How many minutes do you want to see OG Anunoby playing alongside Josh Hart and playing with the center? I don't want to see that, ever. And another reason I think Hart is going to be traded is, one, I don't think he fits all that well with this team going forward. The Knicks need more scorers. They need less workers. His contract right now, this isn't why he'll be traded. It's brutal. He signed a 4-year extension for $81 million that will kick in August. But the Knicks are going to have to match salary at some point if they're going to trade for a superstar. And if you trade Fournier and you trade Grimes as a young piece, Josh Hart is going to have to be going out in that deal making $18 million a year. Unless you're going to trade Julius Randle, which reports have come out from Scoop B Robinson. Shout out to my guy. Follow each other on Twitter. We've been chopping it up. And Hoops Hype, an Eastern Conference executive, believes that the Knicks' next trade will involve Julius Randle. Why? Because it's a salary matching game when you make a trade. I'll end the show with this. If you're still watching, that means you care for my opinion. So I will share it with you. This is my plan for the New York Knicks. You trade Evan Fournier, Quentin Grimes, and one protected first-round pick, which really would be a lottery-protected pick for this year's draft, very similar to the Josh Hart trade, because you're going to make the playoffs, which pretty much makes it unprotected, for DeJounte Murray. I'll give you one protected and one unprotected. 2 first-round picks, the asking price that the Atlanta Hawks have gone on record and said they want for Murray. I do Fournier, Grimes, and 2 picks for DeJounte Murray. And if it works out, awesome. That means you've got your 2 guard of the future that hopefully picks up his defense with Tom Thibodeau. He can control the ball when Brunson's out of the game or hurt. And you have 2 really good guards in the backcourt. But let's say push comes to shove, worst case scenario happens, and the pairing with Brunson and Murray does not work out, and it's similar to Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. That is perfectly fine, because if I'm the Knicks and I can have a trade package of 4 unprotected first-round picks with DeJounte Murray, you can go get a good player. This is what I think is going to happen. Maybe not think is going to happen. This is what I would try to pursue. I make this trade. I get DeJounte Murray. Let's say the Knicks don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and they think they've reached their ceiling. There's a team that's going to lose in the first round of the playoffs. And that team is going to be the Philadelphia 76ers. And when the Philadelphia 76ers lose in the first round of the playoffs, I believe Joel Embiid is going to ask out. And if you trade for DeJounte Murray, you can offer a trade package of Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle, DeJounte Murray, and 3 or 4 unprotected first-round picks. And I don't think there's any team in the NBA that can offer a better trade package than that. There's one thing I know about Daryl Morey. I grew up in Houston, Texas, born in New York. Daryl Morey, when he trades a star, he wants to get a star back. And as much as I don't think that Julius Randle is a primetime player, he would be the second best player in that deal alongside DeJounte Murray. And if you have Tyrese Maxey, Murray, Randle, and Robinson, that's a pretty quick retool for the Philadelphia 76ers. I appreciate everybody for tuning in to today's show. If you made it this far, you are a real one. So please hit that thumbs up icon and show some love. We'll be live on the channel on Wednesday. We'll be live on the channel on, I think they play Thursday and Saturday. 3 more games this week. We're going to be live all 3. So subscribe, turn your notifications on, and let's go Knicks.